had a diversity of voices, not just ethnicity and age on our board, but a diversity of voices. And so we have artists on our board of directors and folks like even Emma Rogers, who is a pillar in this
Yes,
community,
she is.
right? And but Miss Emma is incredibly creative. She's the brainchild behind our Storytime at Bedtime series, where we're reading to families, at the end of the night. This is one last thing, or something that the parent doesn't have to do at the end of the night. Read their children bedtime stories, and Miss Emma is was the impetus and brainchild, like I said, behind that. So I have people working with me to help make those kinds of decisions. And early on, what I knew had to happen in order for this organization to flourish was I could not be the smartest person in the room. I really
Yeah.
tried to surround myself with smart people who know more than me, who have more access than me. And let me tell you, I have a hustle like anybody, but I really try to make sure that, my board of directors in particular and staff are people who can bring something to the table, bring an expertise that I don't have. And I think that's really critical when you're building a team of folks to work with. If everybody's doing the same thing, if everybody has the same skill set, something's going to fall through the cracks. So I look for people with specific talent so that, if I have a weakness in an area, then my colleague can, take up the slack.
But I think, Teresa, that even transformed to our personal lives as well. Is that I think sometimes we always get people who are just like us. And so you're resharing the same information.
Yeah.
But when you really begin to start identifying, and I tell people you need your own personal board of directors, just like your organization would have one, you need one for your life. But you want to start identifying people who are smarter than you. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, that's problematic. And so
Yeah.
how do you make sure in your personal and professional life that you are bringing people in who can not only complement but challenge when necessary, because they know information that you may not even be aware of, but it enhances your work.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that's critical. I don't like yes people around me. I don't like people um, who will tell me things because they think I want to hear it. Tell me the truth.
Yes, yes.
And so I really love that we have folks like Emma Rogers, who is Miss Emma's gonna tell you the truth, whether you like
Yes,
it or not.
ma'am.
And and that's a growth area for me. That is, um, I just don't think that I could grow. I'm of value to anybody personally or professionally if I had a bunch of yes people around me. I tell you the other thing that's helped our organization tremendously is we were part of the Dallas Truth Racial Healing and Transformation Racial Equity Now cohort, and we've agreed to sit in discomfort. I love that about my staff and my board. So we're very diverse, and it's so incredibly hard, Roswell, because what I've learned is that we're very comfortable working in our silos. Black people
Yeah.
only want to work with black folks. White folks only want to work with white folks. Young people only want to work with young people. But in order for us to be really effective and really have a meaningful, sustainable organization, we've got to all work together. And that's
Yes.
difficult. It's more difficult than it appears to be. But we've been intentional about sitting in discomfort. And I had a conversation the other day with one of my board members who, in November, we um, always elect officers. And so I checked in with all of my board members, and what he said to me was, he said, I thought about the racial equity and anti-racist conversations that we're having. And he said, I don't always agree with everything that's being said. He said, but I'm learning. And
Mm.
I can work with somebody like that. I'd rather work with people who are open to having the conversation and sitting in discomfort rather than somebody who shies away from the conversation. and kind of retreat and do what they want to do. So when I say that, we are really sitting in discomfort and having hard conversations, I feel like that's one of the reasons why we've grown the way that we have in the theater, because we have an incredible diverse opinions on the board of directors, but all of us, and on staff, but all of us are really trying to get to a place where we hear each other. We hear and allow people to speak their truth.
But that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a sense of self-awareness to be okay to sit in discomfort. I was having a conversation earlier about last week. I remember I had got so angry about something. And in that moment, it was one of the first times I did that, where I stopped and said, okay, let's talk about to self, why is this so upsetting? And what I realized was I wasn't really angry. I was afraid. And quite often, anger masks so many different emotions. But until we sit in the discomfort and begin to reflect and begin to really pay attention to how we're feeling, and even in being uncomfortable, being willing to push ourselves to deal with it, it's not going to get any better. And we still stay the same person unless we're willing to allow ourselves to be surrounded with people who push us, and we're willing to be, to your point, uncomfortable.
Yeah. And of course, I don't want to make light of the process. I mean, it's been very difficult. And to be sure, we have had casualties. There are people who have left the board of directors. But I'm not afraid of attrition. I'm not afraid of starting over. I've been in this game for 27 years, and it has not looked the same. And so I'm used to people coming and going, but I am committed to making sure that we have the right people on the team. And if that means that some people may fall away, that's fine. We'll find another area of the theater for you to work in. But what we're doing right here is we are committing to sitting in discomfort, because none of us was raised under the same roof. We all have our different opinions. We all have our different lived experiences. So now's the time for us to listen to each other. And that's what we're committed to. I'm not interested in any other process.
I love that you're doing that, and that your board is so supportive, because it's so easy for us to revert back to what's familiar and what's easy, and to walk into these spaces where you're getting information that's not what you've learned, and having to deal with oppression and systemic racism, and understanding how that shows up even in our nonprofit community. I think that's so huge and courageous of you to be willing to take your board along and say this is important to us, and important to our community, because for our communities to be better, our organizations have to be better.
Yeah, that's right. And I will tell you that our board chair is a millennial. So that just tells you everything
Well,
about.
yeah, that did it. Yeah, that's it. No disrespect to the millennials, but that's it. Yeah.
So she's pushing that conversation forward. She has a racial equity lens. She's wonderful about about making sure that we center the conversation at every single board meeting. This is not something that we're doing because it's politically correct. In order to really embrace that ideology and really become the organization that we aspire to be, we have to do the work. And it's not easy. And we have had people to fall by the wayside. But for me, when I see folks, not participating, it makes space for me. It makes space for the right person to come along. So that's how I look at it.
Well, I just appreciate you and who you are, and the trailblazer and pioneer that you've been not only in the theater space, but what you've done for nonprofits and around the city, and so and country. And so I want to say thank you. So my question to you, closing up, because we only have a few seconds left. What's next for Teresa, and how can people get in touch with you?
So what's next for us, for me personally, is I'm really being intentional about training the next generation of leaders. I mentioned that that I'm the founding artistic director of the theater. We've been in existence for 27 years. I'm really proud of that. But I think it's time to move to the side and really let the theater flourish in ways that I never imagined. And I have some opportunities outside of the cities that I'm really excited about. I'm not saying that I'm leaving tomorrow.
Good,
but,
good.
but I am being really intentional about training the next generation of leaders. We have a new theater company that's going to be under our residency next year that I'm really excited to announce maybe in the spring. And people can find me on Twitter, Teresa C. Wash, on Instagram at Teresa Coleman Wash, and also on Facebook, Teresa Coleman Wash.
Teresa, thank you for being you. I'm blessed to call you not only colleague, but friend. And so I just appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of the podcast. And so thank you again. This has been another episode of The Tapestry, where we listen to the stories, like you heard today, of amazing women, and we learn from their experiences so that they can inform ours. And so thank you again. You can reach me at drfrancois.com or at info@drfrancois.com. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.